All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our GIS New Student Orientation. My name is Mrs. Tikoi, and we will be presenting to you some very much needed information to have a successful start to our new school year. So while we all understand that we are in, I hear myself talking. So we are in very different times, unique times, sometimes challenging times. But as a staff, we are very committed to making sure that our students have a great start to the new school year. So I want to take a minute to introduce our staff who are with me today. I'm going to ask them just to wave when I introduce them, say hello. So first we have our PYP Vice Principal, Ms. Stephanie Coyle. We have our MYP Middle Years Vice Principal, Ms. Deep Dillon. We have our curriculum coach, Ms. Elizabeth Call. And we have our parent liaison, Mr. Daniel Bubella. Good morning, everyone. So we are all coming to you via a Zoom meeting virtually. We are actually all on campus, but all socially distanced in our separate rooms on a Zoom meeting for you today. So we're going to start with talking about GIS, all of our successes, and all of our good things. So Mr. Daniel tells me that chat is disabled on YouTube. So maybe Mr. Daniel, can you go in and enable chat in YouTube? You can try it, Mr. Daniel. If not, then we will just have our orientation, just the 5 of us, with no chat, right? But this video will be available to be viewed on YouTube at a later date. It'll be saved. You don't have to be watching us at this current time. So I want to start by sharing some good things about GIS. If we can get there. Thank you for being patient with us. Some of this virtual and live interaction is new to some of us, meaning me. It's new to me, maybe not to everyone else. All right, so Mr. Daniel, if you can just shake your head when you feel like we're in a good place to start. Can you see that, Mr. Daniel, on YouTube? Okay. All right. So to start off with, we want to talk about, for our new families to GIS, a little bit about our school. You're new to us, you might have just seen us on the website or heard about us in the community, but we want to share with you a little bit more about who we are as a school, our programs and successes, and then we'll be a little bit more detailed today about how we communicate with you, what is our distance learning plan, how are we going to support students, and our policies for this year and our required forms for you. First, at GIS, we are always first and foremost an IB school. We are International Baccalaureate. And for us, that means we are authorized by the International Baccalaureate, which is a worldwide educational organization, to offer 2 programs, the primary years program and the middle years program. And this is the IB mission statement. The IB aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. To this end, they work with schools, governments, and organizations to develop challenging programs of international education and rigorous assessment. These programs encourage students across the world to become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners who understand that people with their differences can also be right. This mission statement and building this within our students is more important now than ever, developing an understanding for one another our differences and knowing those differences and still being able to respect one another. You will see as we go through our program for distance learning, you'll see that we will continue to offer a challenging program, a rigorous program for students. We don't do things at GIS just because it's easy, right? We want it to be effective and we want it to be realistic, but we constantly do things to push our students to stretch themselves, to do better, to learn more. And not just our students, but our staff. We're constantly stretching our staff, their capacity. So as I said, we are authorized in 2 programs. The primary years program is for TK through 5th grade. And then our middle years program is for 6th through 8th grade. And you'll see as we advertise things to parents at GIS, you'll hear us say PYP. And if you have students in grades TK through 5, that's those students. If you hear us say the MYP schedule, then we're referring to the middle years schedule, grades 6 to 8. Right? And these 2 programs have different requirements from IB for different offerings that they must give to students. And that's why we are one school, but we offer different programs within the primary years and the middle years program. We are very proud to be a Capturing Kids' Heart showcase school. We got our first national authorization as a showcase school in 2016, 2017, and we've received this honor for 4 years in a row. And we're so proud of Capturing Kids' Hearts. It is the foundation of what we do. So if you hear us refer to CKH, this is the program we're referring to, Capturing Kids' Hearts. And this program, all of our full-time staff receive training in Capturing Kids' Hearts. And the teachers use it in their classroom and interactions with their students on a regular basis. What does it mean? It means that we start off every day with something good. We start off engaging students, making eye contact. We used to shake hands with every student that came into school. Now we have to socially distance that, but that doesn't mean that we stop engaging students personally, individually at the beginning of a class. But it might just be in a different form now rather than just shaking hands. And this is a skill that we need to build within our students, knowing how to greet others and say hello and make eye contact with them. It shows that you care about your students. And then CKH encourages teachers to build a climate in their classroom where the students are responsible for themselves. It's not a dictatorship in our classrooms. The students work as a team to build what we call a social contract. They answer questions like, how do we want to be treated by each other? How does the teacher or the leader want to be treated by us? And how will we respond when there's conflict? So they answer these questions and then they agree upon social contracts and then they sign it. And then they hold each other accountable to these things throughout the year. This is what CKH does. You also see if we get to be back on campus, but even virtually, teachers will call a timeout. Or maybe they have our whole class on a virtual Zoom lesson and they call a timeout. That means everyone has to stop, freeze, and give their attention to the speaker. So we have school-wide hand signals and standard responses that we give to ensure the behavior expectations. That's a little bit about CKH. That's just scratching the surface of it. We are also fully accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges. So this is an accrediting commission that most schools in the United States use for their accreditation. So we are accredited in the United States and we are accredited internationally. So just some really great things about GIS. But let's get down to what you really want to know about for this school year, and that is distance learning. And how will learning on campus or how will learning at home be different? How will it be different from when we were on campus last year, and how will it be different in general? So based upon the public's experience with distance learning in the spring, their feedback to state legislators. When the state legislature passed the budget this summer, they included a Senate Bill 98 that had specific distance learning requirements that now all California schools operating through distance learning have to follow. So I just want to share a little bit with you about those requirements so that you understand as we move forward why we're doing what we're doing, why the schedules are the way they are, right? So first of all, SB 98 encourages schools as much as possible to have students learning in person. This is the goal of the state legislature. They want students to be learning in person as much as reasonably and safely possible. That's the first key point of SB 98. And then it goes on to say, but you cannot be doing in-person distance learning when your county is on a watch list. So Sacramento County is currently on a watch list. So we must continue to have 100% online learning. If Sacramento County were to drop off this watch list, then we could provide safe in-person instruction 14 days after that. Even if they allow us to come back after we drop off the watch list after 14 days, families will be able to continue to stay 100% online if school opens. So if we happen to say, okay, in 14 days, we're gonna bring 50% of our students back every other day. If you as a family decide, I don't want to send my kids back to school, I don't think it's safe, I want to stay 100% online learning, you are allowed to make that choice for this school year. So that would be up to you. What else does SB 98 require? It requires that schools provide access for all students for computer devices and internet connectivity. GIS did this last school year. We provided Chromebooks to our students. So we already had, and we're in a good place and had one-to-one Chromebooks for our students. But many schools throughout California did not do that. They now have to do that. It's a requirement. Not only do you have to provide laptops and computers, you have to ensure that students have connectivity to the internet. So this year we have some hotspots available to families who do not have internet at home. If that's something that you think is necessary for your family, you need internet at home, you can contact the office and we can support you with that. Schools also must have content aligned to grade level standards. And that content must be of the same intellectual rigor that they would have had if they were in person at school. So if you normally would have been teaching from a certain curriculum at school, you cannot just give them an alternative or easier curriculum to do at home. That's not allowed. California wants our students to continue learning, continue the same rigorous standards and curriculum that they would have had if they need, as if they were in school. We also must provide support for students who are performing below grade level. So if your student is in 3rd grade, but they're reading at a 1st or 2nd grade level, we must provide individual support for those students. And if your students are classified as English learners, meaning they speak another language at home other than English, we must provide for them special instruction. And we must provide all required services for our special needs students. And then the SB 98 requires that students have daily live interaction with a certificated teacher. A certificated teacher, daily. So 5 days a week, students must interact with a certificated teacher in some form or fashion online. And they should have daily interaction with their peers. This is really important for their social emotional health, right? Kids are meant to interact with one another, to play with one another, to talk to one another. And the state realizes this and added this into SB 98. As a school, we must document that daily participation in their online classroom and activities, and whether or not they turn in their assignments. If students do not participate in that daily online activity, nor do they submit work or assignments online, they must be marked absent for that day. So we must keep a record, a weekly engagement record of whether or not students are showing up to their online class and are they turning in their work. And if we mark them absent for more than 3 days, we must have a plan for re-engaging this student. And what would that look like? So as a school, we can choose what those re-engagement strategies can include, but they can include and not be limited to verifying the parent contact or info. During this time of distance learning, it's going to be very important that you keep your email up to date, your phone number up to date, that you check your email daily for communication. So that would be one thing we would do to re-engage. Verbal contact with a parent by the teacher. So then not just an email or a text, but an actual verbal phone call to parents. We might now ask that student to start coming to individual tutoring, either with a teacher or a peer educator. An administrator might contact the student or their parent. We might have scheduled a special Zoom session with parents, teacher, and admin, and then a home visit. We did many home visits last year, and then maybe a referral to a counselor. So all of these things are not meant to be punitive. They're meant to help identify what challenges is this student and this family facing that we might be able to help them overcome to get them re-engaged in online learning. So what we're going to share with you today regarding distance learning is really just our first, well, it's not our first, it's our 5th or 6th draft at schedules about what we think distance learning should look like. So we're going to go with these schedules for a few weeks, see how it plays out, and then send you a parent survey link to let us know and give us input about how is distance learning going these first few weeks of school. We constantly want to be taking feedback from parents and listening to your opinion and improving. What we're going to present to you today regarding distance learning is based upon parent feedback from last semester distance learning. It's based upon a summer survey that went out to parents. It's based upon teacher feedback, student feedback, and also our summer school experience teaching virtually. So we feel like we have a strong foundation, but you will have an opportunity after we implement these schedules for a few weeks to comment on them, reflect on a survey, and give us some feedback about how it's going. So that's a little bit about my part. I'm not going to be the only one talking today. I'm going to turn it over to some of these wonderful, very capable people. And first, we're going to go to Ms. Call, and she's going to share with us some more specifics about distance learning.
Thank you, Ms. Takoy. Right, so we're going to start now by getting a little more detail what distance learning for GIS will look like. Just go ahead and wait for our PowerPoint to come up, and then we'll get started. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is our distance learning plan for GIS. And we'll go ahead and start first by looking at the online learning platforms for TK through 1st grade and for 2nd through 8th grade. So TK, kindergarten, and 1st grade will be using Seesaw. 2nd grade through 8th grade will be using Google Classroom. This year we will not be using ClassDojo. In the past we had, but we want to be a little more consistent. So TK through 1st on Seesaw, 2nd through 8th on Google Classroom. So these learning platforms are where you will find your students their daily assignments, links to instructional videos, links to their teacher's Zoom meetings. And you should be expecting an email from your child's teacher this Thursday with information for how you will sign up and join one of these platforms to get information about your students' classroom. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at instruction. So like Mr. Coy said, this distance learning is gonna be a little bit different than it was in the past for the spring. Zoom will basically be your child's classroom. The teacher will teach their lesson almost like they would if your child was physically in the classroom. This is their whole class instruction where they'll receive direct instruction and go through guided practice. So this will be the whole class together, and you'll probably be able to find these links on their learning platform on either Seesaw or Google Classroom. Google Meet we're calling it the teacher's desk. So this will be their individualized instruction or ELD support. So if a student is struggling with a concept or is below grade level, your teacher may ask them to join a Google Meet with themselves or a para to help them catch up with a small group or one-on-one to help make sure nobody's falling behind. So those are the two main instruction platforms. All right, let's go ahead and look at schedules. Now these schedules will be posted on our website. So you can either, if you'd like, you can take a picture of them now as we're going through, but they will be posted. So you don't need to worry that they're going to be gone after this. So PYP, again, that's our primary years program. That's TK through 5th grade. This first schedule is their minimum day schedule. And the reason we're showing that now is our first week of school, we will be following the minimum day schedule. So the first box, the green TK, Kinder, and First, they'll be having their class meetings on Zoom from 8:30 to 9:15. So this is where they'll be doing get to know you activities, getting to know their class, their teacher, going through some established norms. But for these first weeks, notice the second meeting at 9:30 to 10:15 says TBD. So this is to be determined. For these younger grades, the first couple days of class, they may only be having that first morning meeting. We really want to ease the students into being able to be at their seat for that full day. So the first day or two, they may only have the morning class meeting, but if the teacher feels like things are going well, we've got good momentum, they may add in that second class meeting, right? And then 2nd through 5th grade, they will be having the morning class meeting at 8:30, a break in between, and then another class meeting from 9:30 to 10:15 on Monday through Thursday. They'll only be having the one class meeting on Friday from 9:30 to 10:15. Okay. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. So this is our regular day schedule. So after that first week, starting the second week, things are going to be looking a little bit different. So right now you can see the transitional kinder schedule and the kinder and first grade schedule. So I just want to start by pointing out a few things, but I want you to notice that some of the boxes are in gray. So these boxes are the online instruction time. So this is when your child will be on their Zoom meeting with their whole class together, and the teacher will be delivering their standards-based instruction in English language arts, math, science, and social studies, world language, and social emotional learning. So they will not be sitting on a screen all the way from 8:30 until 4 o'clock. Just these gray boxes are their whole class Zoom meetings. Okay. Then go ahead and notice the areas written in red: individualized instruction, English language support. So this is a time where your child may be asked to come to that teacher's desk that I mentioned before, where they'll be at Google Meets, where they may have some small group instruction, some one-on-one support if they're struggling, small group lessons for English language learners. So those may be a time that they're asked to join, but they are not the whole class. Next, I'd like you to go ahead and look at the kindergarten through first grade. You see you've got a gray box there from 12 o'clock to 3:15. Now I did mention that gray boxes are the whole class Zoom meetings. Now this will not be a 3-hour Zoom meeting. This is saying that during that time, kindergarten and first grade will have a 40-minute world language lesson. but these for different classes have different times. So you'll be finding out from your teacher specifically what time their world language lesson is, but it will not be 3 hours of instruction during that time. Lastly, on this page, I'd like to point out the ACES enrichment program. So ACES in the past was our after school program. ACES this year for online is open to all students. So not just students who were in it previously, any student can join these ACES enrichment programs. They are optional, so they are not required. And if you aren't able to come to these ACES programs, they will be recorded and posted onto a learning platform if you'd like to go back and watch them a little later and participate in the activities. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our last PYP schedule. So now we are looking at the second through fifth grade schedules, and very similar. We have the gray lessons. These are your Zoom meetings. One of the major differences is on Friday. Friday, second through fifth grade, students will have their social emotional learning lessons, just like TK through first, but classes 3B and 3C, so those 2 of the third grade classes, will have world language on Friday. So 3B and 3C will be having those world language lessons on Friday and a social emotional learning lesson. So let's go ahead and look at the middle years program, so the middle years schedule. And right now we're just looking at the 6th grade one. They're pretty similar, but if you'd like to take a picture of specifically, if you have a 6th grade student, we'll look at the 7th and 8th grade as well. So a couple things I'd like to point out is that we are divided into 2 cohorts. So cohort 1 and cohort 2. So these are all 6th grade. And each cohort in the different color boxes, so you've got the blue, orange, they have 15 students in them. So based on feedback from our summer school lessons, the middle school students really enjoyed those small group interactions. They felt that they could ask their questions and participate in the lesson with that smaller group. So we created schedules so that each one only has 15 students. So each one, it's divided that students will have about 3 classes a day, either in having a morning session, so that's the top kind of teal blue, or an afternoon session in the orange. So if they're having their 3 lessons, their 3 classes with their teachers in the morning, the afternoon would be that individual instruction time. Let's see. All right, I think that's all I need for that one. Fridays will also be that time for social emotional lessons. So they will be together with their class and having their social emotional lessons, just like in the PYP. We really want to take care of these students' social emotional needs. And then last thing I think I want to point out is that notice each day is not the same classes like it was in the primary years program. So if we're looking at Monday for 7A, they have world language at 8:30 on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then PE at 8:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So they will be alternating day to day so that they are able to meet with all their teachers throughout the week, having 3 to 4 classes a day. Okay. And then lastly, we'll look at the 8th grade. If you'd like to take a picture of this screen for your 8th grade student, similar the same, having a morning and afternoon session with either their classes in the morning and individualized instruction later on, or vice versa. And then following that Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. All right, and then lastly, we'll look at the middle years program minimum day schedule. So just like the primary years program, the middle years program, 6th through 8th grade, the first week of school will be following the minimum day schedule. Okay, so they'll be having 3 lessons a day, but for this, the cohorts will be combined. So the morning cohort and the afternoon cohort will be in 1 lesson. So this will be 30 students together for this first week of school for the minimum day. So all students will be combined and then again with a Friday social emotional lesson. All right. So that's the plan we have so far. Looking forward to getting it started and seeing everybody back together online.
All right, hi. So we're just having a little bit of technical difficulty. Computer's frozen, so we'll be continuing on in just a moment. While we're waiting, I'll just go over a couple of my pieces. Hi, I'm Stephanie Croyle. Thank you, Mr. Coy and Ms. Call for all the great information you've already shared. So the supports that we are going to be having for the students are because we are dedicated to your student as individuals, and we want their continued excellence, and we are here to support them in anything that they need. So just as Mr. Coy had mentioned, last year we did hand out computers and Chromebooks to all students, and we had the daily live interaction because we felt that it was best practice. And the state now agrees with us because it is now a law, and we are going to be continuing technology for all and daily live interaction. So we're very proud of that we started that last year during a very tumultuous time. So we'll be discussing pickup and drop off in just a little while. We also do have hotspots, as Mr. Coy had mentioned. We do have a limited number of hotspots, so these will be handed out based on need, greatest need. So again, contact the office and we will get you a hotspot as soon as we can based on your need, okay? Now we have the individual supports, as Ms. Call already mentioned. The time in the afternoon for PYP, our elementary program, that will be time for one-on-one and small group interaction. We have 3 dedicated SPED para-educators, and they will be giving those instructional minutes that they need and are and we provided for. And then we also have para-educators that are bilingual. We have many of them. We also have lots of staff that are bilingual. So I made a list because there are several of them, several languages that we offer. We have Russian, Ukrainian, Hmong, Farsi, Punjabi, Hindi, German, Gagosian, Moldovan, and Spanish. So if our students are in need of translation, we absolutely can offer that for any of those languages. And we also have a counselor on campus. She is Miss Dillon, our MYP vice principal, and she does provide our counseling services. All right, so we are going to be providing lunches this year. I know last year, if you had a student enrolled in a school, you could go to your local school to pick up lunches. This year that has changed, and you have to actually come to our school if you have a student that's enrolled here. So you will drive. Luckily, our construction will be done by Monday. You will drive in. It's for curbside pickup. You will need to prove, though, that your student is enrolled in our school. So if you're a new student, especially for the new families, our staff doesn't know you quite yet. They will get to know you. But at first, if you could please bring either your teacher's parent welcome letter, if you could bring, or if you have the 9800 number, which is your student's ID to log onto your technology, log onto the computers. Okay, so please bring those items, those IDs, so that we can give you food. That will include lunch for the day and then breakfast for the following day. So you can come starting at 11:30 until 1 o'clock and you can get your food that way, okay? All right, I just want to quickly go over the fact that we do offer GoGuardian as a support for your student. It is so that they can remain focused it is so that we can monitor their computer usage. And what's great about this is that the teachers can see everything that the students are doing while they're on the computer at any time. And they can also block certain websites during, let's say, testing time. If the teacher wants to test your child, they can block everything except the one site they need to be on, so they can remain focused and dedicated to the task at hand. Now, Daniel's going to discuss a little bit later that the parents are also going to have options to have a GoGuardian account so that you can also see what your student is doing at all times. Okay, later on, I will show you a map and a schedule of technology pickup and drop off. But we're gonna take about a 10-minute break and we'll refresh everything and be right back, okay?